This is part 1 of 3 for Unit 5, and in this unit we're going to talk about the principles of design. Last week we explored the elements of design, and this week we're going to look at how you put those elements together. The principles of design are concepts or compositional components that guide the placement of the design elements. Quite simply, principles of design are the guidelines for the successful use of design elements. So, even more basic than that, the principles of design are how you take the design elements of line, shape, space, and put them together. In this part 1, we're going to talk about unity, variety, and harmony. Unity is the compatibility of design elements with each other, or how are the elements related as a part of the whole. So unity can be seen as how the units come together to create a unified whole. This ring, you can see two different forms. 1, 2. This is a solid form and this is a hollow form. They come together to create a unified whole. So unity really has to do with visual connections. And in an ideal situation, to have perfect unity, if there ever was such a thing, nothing can be added, nothing can be taken away, or nothing can be altered without messing up the unity of the space. This first image is of a church. The reason why I show this image for unity's sake is that all of the forms, shapes, and lines really come together to create this unified space. If you were to change the colors, the way that you experience the space would be completely different. This image, it's called a mandala painting. These are Buddhist monks who are painstakingly laying down grains of sand one at a time to create this sand painting. Because of the colors and the shapes that are used, it is a very unified design. If you change some of the colors, it won't have the same meaning. Those mandala paintings have a lot of very significant meaning within the Buddhist faith. Unity, it allows the viewer to see the design as a whole. Go back to this mandala painting. Because the colors relate to each other and the shapes relate to each other, you are not focusing specifically on any one piece and understanding the thing as a whole. The same idea with this garment. You are able to look at this garment as a whole. You're not focusing here or on this part because it is all related together and you can see it as a whole piece. There's a really interesting theory of visual perception, and it's called Gestalt theory, where we see wholes out of just parts. For instance, looking at this panda bear, which is the logo for the World Wildlife Fund, these dotted lines are not actually there, but we perceive them to be there because we see an entire piece out of that bear, even though those pieces aren't there. In this graphic here, we see a triangle here, a triangle there, and circles in these spaces, when in reality what you actually have are greater than or less than sign and 3 Pac-Man shapes. But when you put them all together, we can recognize that as a whole triangle in that space. So there are 3 primary ways to create unity. One of them is through proximity. You put these pieces close together, and then you see them all as a unified design of elements. Another way to create unity in a space is by repetition, repeating elements over and over again, taking these horizontal wood pieces, a lot of them together on the ceiling and then on the walls, creates a unified space. Another way to create unity is through the idea of continuation. In this piece, we see it as a series of circles or arcs, and even though they're broken here, we perceive this as being continued, and we could think of it as continuing on and on and on. The opposite of unity, although it's not really opposite, it's variety. So using the elements line, shape, form, texture to provide diversity in interest. So it's introducing different shapes, different textures, different colors into a thing to create variety. I like to show the image of University Place that's being constructed down in Sunnyside. There are these very similar forms in the two towers, but they've introduced different colors and different materials along the outside of the building as a way to create variety of color and texture. Variety can bring focal points to unified designs. Something with unity doesn't necessarily draw your eye to any specific place, but variety can definitely do that. Like in this image, this red element here, the red headboard, definitely brings a focal point to that bedroom. This house here has a lot of different forms, a variety of different forms, although the color is exactly the same and the material and texture is the same. But through the introduction of this very geometric form opposed to these very organic forms, your eye is drawn to there. Variety, you can vary the shapes, colors, textures, and details. Another thing, you can emphasize variety with unexpected experiences. That's why I changed this slide a little bit. I took the text and I turned it on its side. It was an unexpected experience. One example of variety that I like to show, and I'm going to show a couple of slides here, is this huge crazy project that's in Singapore. It's called the Marina Bay Sands Hotel. This is the hotel here, and this is a music performance center. This is a walkway. There is a tremendous amount of variety in these forms, shapes, and textures within this project. This is just a bigger image of the same project because I want you to spend a little bit of time looking at this, what this primary building is. The way they've introduced variety into this is with these large vertical towers joined with this horizontal element on top of the building that has this huge overhang here. So I said in the last slide that variety can be emphasized with unique, unexpected experiences. Well, this is the experience that you get on the top of this tower. This is no joke. They have created at the top of this tower, many hundreds of feet up in the air, on the top of the skyline of Singapore, they have this huge infinity pool that you can swim up to the edge here, along here, and there are cabanas and palm trees at the top of this tower. Your actual experience up there is very, very different than the experience of the rest of the building. So there's a tremendous amount of experiential variety in this building. Variety and unity can really work together to enhance the project, to create a really interesting and comforting experience. So you can have unity within variety or variety within unity. So when you have unity within variety, this can reduce chaos and makes the design readable. Or you can have variety within unity That reduces dullness and brings a sense of life to the design. So let's look at these three images here. This, it had, you see that there's a grid, a general overall grid pattern here. So we've introduced a lot of variety, different forms, different heights, different colors, but there's seems to be a lot of chaos. So we go over to this image of, it's a whole bunch of different cubes, very unified because they're exactly the same, but it's pretty dull and pretty boring, and you really lose a sense of the overall form because it's just too dull. Over here in this one, we have taken the same idea of this, the same shapes, or excuse me, the same forms, and the same grid pattern, and we've taken a little bit of information or ideas from here, introduced variety within this unity by changing the colors here and introducing a large blue swath. Now it seems to have better unity because of the organized variety. Another design principle is harmony. Harmony, if you think about it like in music, like chords in a music, or when there's harmony within a song, this it creates a unique blend of unity and variety. So you have variety of the different voices, but they all work together to create a great sense of unity in the song. This space is really the same thing. Through the use of differing colors, differing patterns along the floor, there is a calm sense of harmony within that space that creates unity because of the variety. One of the ways to look at harmony is through a common denominator, or otherwise something that is consistent throughout the design, whether that be a dress or a shoe or this building, perhaps. One of the things that that there is a sense of harmony within this building is because you can see these horizontal lines and the curved forms of the building carried into the interior space of the building. This space is what's on the inside of this. So all of these horizontal elements are repeated inside of the building, and you can see the curved glass is picked up in the ceiling here, and that helps to create a sense of harmony. And with harmony, much like unity, everything should appear as if it belongs. I like to refer to this image. Even though there's a great sense of harmony in this space and in that dress, I really like this because that house, it's called Falling Water, is tucked into the forest and into this, above this waterfall, creating a great sense of harmony because the colors of the house are reflected in the colors of the forest. Even though there's opposing forms, it still is reflected and has a sense of unity with the surrounding environment, so it creates a sense of harmony. That concludes the first part of Unit 5. There are 2 other videos you need to watch. Remember, there's a discussion board and quiz for this unit.